Hello, trading is closed on September 3rd, 2020, and what a difference a day makes. Let's do our disclaimer, then go over our calls. It's my plan for tomorrow. I just do things one day at a time. Well, let's go over a few things. We look for the pattern with the early low. This is it, and tomorrow has the early high. We said at some point some of these targets would print. We get to cross 3 of them off the list. We had a target for this month of 35.28 plus. We said gapping over it was quite bullish, could lead to a parabolic move up, but I said it wasn't as good as it sounded because these parabolic moves tend to retrace quickly and completely. I didn't say quickly, I just said completely, and I certainly didn't say what happened today. We did say that this move up yesterday needed confirmation by trading past the close by 1 cent, and I said the only thing that would negate its positive implications would be if we promptly undercut this low, and I said I wasn't going to predict that, so naturally that's what happened. Here's what we said. Unless it's rejected promptly and convincingly, I wasn't predicting it, should trade higher. I was concerned about today's action, which turned out to be an understatement, but I wasn't willing to risk any money on it. At least I didn't lose any money on it. So I've said many times, I miss plenty of calls, but don't make many ones that are wrong. Well, MEJT gave a buy signal at this low. That worked. Said this rally wouldn't stick. Said this drop wouldn't stick, and that's all played out. That's a pretty good reversal so far. I've just gone to this moving average. The important thing is still haven't undercut that low. Until you undercut a low, this could get rejected just as yesterday's did. Well, here was our monthly line. We said going over it without the gap would not stick. It should retrace. We've now retraced and gone back over it. That marks it as a false move. But if we go past it again, there's no longer a requirement to retrace. So if we overtake this high, then today's move gets marked as false. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, and it might not ever happen. We've just completed the obligation to retrace to that line. Well, here was this move against this huge top here, this huge resistance area. And I said I had much more evidence for Tuesday's close being at top than I did for Wednesday's. And if this is rejected as fast as it was and it doesn't recover, then that's just a false move, and all the reasons for this top on Tuesday still stand. Now this line is a 1-by-1 Gann fan line from the 0.3 high. We went through it, we overtook resistance. We stopped right at it, and that's support. And when you drop to the line of support without going under it, either you gap under the line or the line wins. So if we're going to drop tomorrow, ideally we should gap under today's low. And if we don't, I'd be suspicious of a retrace to the line. So far, all we have is a 61.8% retracement of this last leg up. So if this isn't the real thing, and at this point we don't know for sure, that's one logical place, not the only place for the drop to stop. Of course, if it doesn't stop, then we still have this call for a high here. If this is a false move, it's possible to count it as an ABC with good fibs. But as I've said, at this point in the pattern, you can make anything work, maybe not as neatly as this, but if there weren't a pattern, you'd say, I doubt that could be a low. But since there is a pattern, it's a candidate for a low. Well, here's a volume spike, and as you see, volume spikes are associated with market lows. Now, it doesn't mean you won't go higher tomorrow. Doesn't mean you won't drop more tomorrow. But at least if you have a possible low here, you at least have the volume that goes along with it. Well, tomorrow has a early high. Doesn't mean you won't gap down. Typically, it's a rally day with a final hour high. Failure is a straight line drop. The employment report comes out tomorrow. Tends to be a market mover. I don't hold positions going into it. That being said, if the bears are going to keep this up, they have to gap and promptly undercut today's low. As far as tomorrow is concerned, if they don't do that, I think we'll go up. It's quite unusual to have back-to-back days that go straight down like today. So even if we do gap, I don't look for a disaster. Longer term, the break over the trend line from the 2009 low was unsustainable. We've now satisfied the requirement to retrace, so rallying again is free of that restraint, but the rejection of the move to new highs promptly and completely was the only thing I saw which precluded a further advance. It happened, and negative as it is, it still needs confirmation by undercutting a prior low, and that has not happened yet. Still possible to invalidate today's move, especially if we take out yesterday's high. Now, there are some positive things here. We dropped all day and couldn't close under the midday low. If we take it out early tomorrow, that's invalidated. We dropped to but not through the Fibonacci retracement level and the Gann fan line we showed. If we get down tomorrow, that's invalidated. The volatility indices are trading well over the upper Bollinger Bands. It tends to be associated with market lows, but only gives a buy when you reverse under them. Could happen tomorrow, but it hasn't happened yet. And we have exceptionally high volume on the E-mini. Doesn't mean the volume won't be higher tomorrow. So despite the odds favoring a rally tomorrow, if today low holds, 35.28 plus cash now is reestablished as resistance. Bulls need to clear it, and yesterday's high promptly to convince me more upside's coming. Just like yesterday, it looks like a major move, but you need confirmation. We don't have confirmation for this one. We don't have confirmation for this one. We have the employment report tomorrow. No one knows what will happen. If we move up and take this out, I can explain it. If we gap down, I can explain it. It's just, at this point, more likely that that high is going to hold than that it isn't. But stranger things have happened before. Tomorrow has the early high. If we rally, look for resistance around 35.28 cash. And that's today's call.